Our today's topic in this module is functional dependency. This is a brief outline. We start with what is a functional dependency. We will see different types of functional dependencies. Then we will see the advantages and limitations of functional dependency. So, let us begin this session with the topic functional dependency. In relational database management systems, we have to represent data in the form of type tables or relations. These relations have different columns or fields in them. Functional dependency describes relationships that are present between different attributes or fields of a table. In this dependency, it shows that how the values of one or more attributes determine the value in the another. This functional dependency concept is given by E.F. Codd, who is regarded as father of database management system. This dependency typically exists between the primary key and all the non-primary key attributes in a relation. Primary key is a special key which helps to identify records of same data between each other. It also helps to maintain the quality of data in DBMS. It is very essential for maintaining the integrity of the data. It helps to build a very effective database management system and also to organize and normalize the database. And this topic, which is functional dependency, is very important to understand the concept that are used to solve problems related to normalization of tables. Let us now discuss this further. A functional dependency is a kind of a notation in which we use a symbol of arrow, or we can say that a production. This dependency is between two fields or two columns, say x and y, and we represent them as x production y, or we say that x tends to y. Here we have two main components of this functional dependency. First is the left hand side part and second is the right hand part. The left hand part is called determinant and the right hand part is called dependent. Here this dependent variable is dependent on the value of this determinant variable. Here x is a determinant and we can say that the value of y is functionally dependent on the value of x. Hence, this is represented as functional dependency from x tends to y. Here in this example, we have a table. In this table, the first column is roll number, in which none of the roll numbers are repeating. They are unique, so we can consider them as a prime or a key attribute. All the other attribute depends on this key attribute, so they are called non-prime attributes. Here in this another example, let us now identify here the value of ID. In the value of ID, we have different individual unique values, so it can be considered as a primary key. Name, two persons can have the same name, so this is not a prime attribute, it is a non-prime attribute. Similarly, age, city and phone number, they all are non-prime attributes. Now we come to different types of functional dependencies. Broadly speaking, we have four types of functional dependencies. The first is a trivial dependency, second non-trivial dependency, then we have multi-value dependency, we have transitive dependency. Let us see them one by one. Here first we look at what is a trivial functional dependency. So, in a trivial functional dependency, the dependent value is always a subset of the determinant. That means the right hand side part value is a part of, or we can say that a subset of a greater set which is represented by the value of the determinant, which is the left hand side part. So, if the attributes on the right side are the subsets of left side, then we can say that such a functional dependency is trivial. In representation, we can write it like this: x tends to y is called a trivial functional dependency if y is the subset of x. Let us take an example. We have this table of employee in which we have three columns, first having the value employee ID, then employee name and then the age. Here, if we have a set or a combination of key which is employee ID and name, which determines the value of name here, this functional dependency or association is trivial because if we talk about name, the value of name is a part of the greater set which is on the left hand side part. Hence, this is called a trivial functional dependency. Also, every element can determine itself. So, we have employee ID tends to employee ID, name tends to name, and age tends to age. All are functional dependencies of the type trivial. Next, we see what is a non-trivial functional dependencies. Any functional dependency in which the dependent is not the subset of the determinant, it is called non-trivial. In other words, we can say that in a non-trivial functional dependency, the attributes on the right hand side part are not the subset of the attributes of the left hand side part, right? And we represent it mathematically like x tends to y. It is non-trivial when y is not the subset of x. Here in the same example, we can see that employee ID tends to name. Here the value of name is not a part of the left hand side part determinant, which is employee ID. Hence, this is not a trivial dependency, it is a non-trivial dependency. Also, we can see that employee ID name tends to age. Here age is also not a subset of the left hand side part, so this is also a non-trivial dependency. So, I hope trivial and non-trivial dependencies are clear. If the right hand side part is a subset of the left hand side part, we call it as a trivial, otherwise it is a non-trivial. Next, we move on to multi-value functional dependency. As the name suggests, in a multi-value functional dependencies, the attributes in the dependent set are not dependent on each other. For example, we have x tends to yz. If there exists no functional dependency between the value of y and z, then we say that this is a multi-valued functional dependency, right? If y and z are not same or not subsets of each other, we can say that it is a multi-valued dependency. Here we can say that employee ID tends to name comma age. Here both the value of name as well as the value of age are not part of the superset, which is employee ID, which is the determinant of the both, right. So, this is a multi-value functional dependencies. Here name tends to age or age tends to name does not exist. Next, we have transitive functional dependency. This transitive property is used exactly same just like we have in the set theory or in the mathematics. Here this transitive functional dependency, here the dependent is indirectly dependent on the determinant. That means it is not directly related, it is indirectly related or indirectly is a part of the determinant. If we consider two functional dependencies, first is A tends to B, second B tends to C, then according to transitive dependency we skip or omit this the common one and we come out to be A tends to C. Here if A tends to B and B tends to C exists, then A tends to C also must exist. This is called transitive functional dependency. Let us take an example. Here we have employee ID tends to department and department tends to street number. So, from these two dependencies we can conclude that employee tends to street. So, street number is not directly related, but it is indirectly related or indirectly is a part of this determinant, hence it is known as transitive functional dependency. Let us take an example. We have a student table or a relation in which we have columns as student number, student name, phone number, student state, country and age. Now, we know that student number is unique for each student. So, we consider it as a primary key. Hence, we have the dependencies as student number tends to student name, student number tends to student phone number, student number tends to student state, student number tends to country and student number tends to student age. All will be true because we have only one primary key in this table and all the other non-prime attributes are dependent on it. Similarly, we have another relation student state tends to student country. It will be also true because in a same country for a different state also the country remains the same, right. So, we have student state tends to student country as another relation. Now, if we have a relation of student course or course number tends to course name, they will also be true as both the records with the same course number will have the same course name. Let us now come to different advantages or benefits of using functional dependencies. First, functional dependency avoids data redundancy, which means repetition of same information or data. Therefore, same data do not repeat at multiple locations if we use functional dependency concepts in representing them. Secondly, it helps to maintain and ensure good quality of data in the database. Third, by guaranteeing that our data is correct and also it is consistent in the database, it also enhances the integrity of this type of data. Hence, functional dependency also improves the integrity of data in a database. Also, it helps to define meanings and give constraints on the data so that we do not end up entering the wrong data. It helps to identify bad design from the good design of a database. The use of functional dependency can make some operations very simpler, such as adding of a new content or data, editing the existing data, removing the unwanted data. All this is supported by a good functional dependency representation that helps to make an effective database management system. With the advantages, we have some limitations also. First, the process of identifying different functional dependencies, it can be time consuming and very complex if you have a large table with a large number of data values in it, right? So, this process can be a bit complex. Second, overly restrictive functional dependencies can result in slow processing of the queries. Query is nothing but a request to grant permission to draw or get the data out of the database. If you use complex queries, if you use complex functional dependencies, there may be situations wherein the data retrieval becomes slow, and also it deteriorates the functioning, it may lead to data inconsistencies, etc. Next, functional dependencies do not take into account the semantic meaning of data and may not always reflect the true relationship between various data elements. Let us look back and see what we have covered in this module. We started with what is a functional dependency. Second, we have seen different types of functional dependencies such as trivial, non-trivial, multi-valued and transitive dependencies. We have seen some advantages and limitations of functional dependencies. I hope this initial module on functional dependency is beneficial for you. We will see the functional dependencies and its axioms of solving various problems in the coming module. Thank you for joining. Have a nice learning. Thank you.